Welcome back to part 2 of this edition of Firefighters and Fire Trucks Getting Ice Cream. We are hanging out with Mike Richardson while we're out at FDIC. We are just pulling up to Kilwood's Ice Cream to grab a frozen treat in milkshake form and continue our great conversation. Of course, we also had to get a shake for our camera person Tiger. Let's go get inside Kilwood's and have some great ice cream. We'll get some ice cream and finish up our conversation.
Sounds good.
I always like ice cream.
Oh yeah, there's no such thing as bad ice cream. So.
Yeah, so this is Kilwood's, highly recommended by Tiger. I guess he has it down in Florida when he teaches down there.
Okay.
I was looking at some other place. He goes, nope, we're going to Kilwood's. I said, all right, you're the expert, man. I don't know what to tell you.
First time here, but it's got to be good, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, if Tiger says this place is good, then you know it's good, and I can't complain about that. Okay. Tiger behind the camera, like knowing that it's good. We're Hello. Hello. How are you?
How are you guys?
I'm good. I think I'm going to get the s'mores shake.
Okay.
And Mike.
I'm going to go with the sea salt caramel shake.
Oh,
please.
nice. Okay.
Thank you.
Sea salt.
Caramel.
No, thanks. You make it seem like the ice cream's not bad enough. So, how long have you been with ISFSI?
Been with ISFSI for quite a while, for a number of years. I was very fortunate recently to be elected to the board. So I'm now serving as the Region 3 Director. I also serve as the Chair of the Professional Development Committee. So great opportunity. ISFSI does a number of great things and took advantage of that for many years as an instructor. A lot of great pros to having a membership with ISFSI. And previously to that, I had served on the Fire Department Safety Officers Association board for 4 years. I don't want to say I'm done there because I'm still doing stuff with safety officers, but as far as being on the board, it was time to move on. So Steve Pegram, a lot of great people that have previously done great things with ISFSI said, hey, the board could probably use some help and some experience. So like I said, threw my hat in the ring and was very fortunate to get that. And then, the conversation kind of went, hey, we're trying to get our heads around professional development. Is that something you can help us with? Something very near and dear, very passionate about.
Well, you're passionate about a lot of stuff.
It maybe comes with a territory.
That's how we met. You're too passionate? Yeah. So.
But it's kind of one of those things where, jack of all, master of none. But, But anyway, but no, it was great to get to work on that. And we now have the professional development matrix. So, Yeah,
that's cool. So you've been doing that for like about a year and a half?
Yes, we've been working on that specifically for about the last year and a half. We just rolled it out a couple months back. It's available now. It's on the website. People can go take a look at it. And once again, we're trying to identify knowledge, skill, ability, and attitude. And it's kind of one of those things where in our fire service careers, we kind of hit on bits and pieces. But do we have a full, robust development? Are we getting all that as a firefighter, as a driver operator, as a company officer, as a chief officer, or are we just kind of piecemealing it, getting bits and pieces here? And the key is if we can put a good plan together from A to Z that fits for us, our organization, where we're at, then our chances for success go up exponentially. Because like we've been talking about, there's these holes and these gaps that if we don't have some method to the madness, kind of can happen. And at times we need to get pushed out of our comfort zones. And if we do that, another big part of professional development we talk about is the evaluation part. Because I hate to say it, I've done it many times myself. I put on what I thought was a phenomenal training program to come back after the fact and find out that transfer didn't happen or that behavior change didn't happen. So yes, we went through the motions, but have we actually measured the fact that the changes that we're looking for are occurring? So, we talk about written testing for knowledge. We talk about practical skills evaluation. The big thing for experience is, are we doing AARs or post-incident analysis? Because you know, we can go out to a fire, and at the end of the day, hey, the fire went out, we all went home.
Right.
But did things really go as well as they should have, and are we taking an honest look at that? And then can we spin that right back around to figure out, once again, where the holes or gaps are at, and how do we address that? And then attitude, you know, that's performance evaluations, it's a lot of things. But if we don't honestly take an objective look at what we're doing in terms of professional development, we're kind of leaving our future up to luck. And once again, there may be some areas that we're hitting, but are we really addressing everything like we need to?
And you were able to sucker Anthony Castros into helping with some of that.
Something along those
right.
lines.
So Andoni's in there. Who else? Who else do you got going on? And some of the tiers.
Andoni's in there. We've got Andoni in there. We've got Jesse Marcotte from up in Michigan. And Jesse's also working on one of the other great things that ISFSI is doing, which is the mentoring program. Great part of professional development is mentoring. You know, we need to help that next generation or next level come up, and we want them prepared for the job before we throw them in the right seat and say, hey, make decisions now, you're a company officer, you know, or hey, run the firehouse now. So we've got to make sure, obviously with ISFSI, we're focusing on mentoring instructors, and that's what that program is going to be part of. But
yeah, oh, that's cool. And you talked about like after action review, like even at my previous department, we were working on like 4 levels of AAR. You have like a simple tailboard for a basic fire with no crazy stuff. A level 2 would go to the point where we're literally building a PowerPoint and collecting pictures and audio and video, because we all have helmet cams, and you know, and
it's all over Facebook.
Right.
Facebook.
So we have that level 2 incident where we're literally like putting together a formal AAR for whoever was there. And then we'd go to another level where, okay, if something actually happened, and we don't fill out forms too, like what went right, what went wrong. But then the larger ones where the training division is putting together an entire package and video, like doing an interview with everybody that was on scene and having an archive of other ones that we can learn from the incident commander and learn from the firefighter all the way down about that incident and how it went. So
because the bottom line is, for most of us, you know, we have one fire, one select group of people had that experience, not the department.
Right.
So can we share that experience, secondhand experience, vicarious experience with the other members? You know, and then, because once again, if we had an issue on that shift, was it just with that shift? Was it with the whole department?
Was it equipment? Was it culture? Was it SOPs?
Policies? Exactly. It's all the things that we can have problems and issues with. And yeah, and it's great. And you know, we encourage everyone, that's the key. At least have that informal tailboard. At least get together as a crew and say, hey, you know, what went great, and then where do we potentially have some room for improvement? And then to your point, because, you know, too, it may get to the point you're inviting a mutual aid response in and bringing them in too. But and that's the key, is the, you know, the higher you can take it, if the incident warrants it, the more we can get out of it.
Right.
You know, but if we don't, you know, how are we going to learn and get better?
Yeah, for sure. You good?
Milkshakes are ready.
Oh, cool. Here we go. Now we get to enjoy it. We're just So when you were, you had the professional development, you got these guys that are coming in. You have the company officer and the chief officer completely built out yet, or you guys are still working on it?
No, we have all the levels built out. So,
okay.
Yes. So we actually, and what the professional development matrix is it's basically an outline, a guide, a framework, and it basically shows you for, let's say, for example, for the firefighting level, what knowledge do we need to cover? So it identifies, per the NFPA standard, for example, for firefighter 1 and 2, what are the things that we need to go over at a knowledge level. There's resources there, so it'll give you links to different types of resources. Then it'll go to the next level, which of course would be skill. So there's going to be task books, check-off sheets, things that you would need for a firefighter. Next one it's going to go to is our ability. With the firefighter, a big part of that would be probably assigning them a senior firefighter as a mentor, so they can share that experience and help them, you know, once again, learn through secondhand experience, learning from that senior firefighter.
Right.
And then attitude can be different things depending on the level. With a new firefighter, we're going to want to make sure we're stressing, you know, our values, our visions, the things that, you know, when someone new comes into the organization that we want to stress. So it's going to tell you for each level, and once again, we have it for firefighter, for driver operator, for company officer, and for chief officer. and it'll give you, once again, what are the things that we need to be covering, and then providing resources. And it's been great. We've had a lot of individuals, Anthony, for example, Anthony Castros, other individuals that have been willing to share. And we would ask anyone, whether you're an ISFSI member or not, but anyone that has a resource that you're willing to share. If you ever hear me speak, I'm a firm believer that R&D stands for rip off and duplicate. So I hate to say it, in the fire service, we kind of have a bad habit at times of want to reinvent the wheel when someone out there's already done it. We can take it, make some minor changes for, obviously you don't want to see the whiteout on top of the FD&Y SOP for your department,
right.
but at least it's a starting point, and at least we can do that without, once again, having to start from scratch. So that's what we're trying to do now, is collect as many resources as we can. And we find that, I hate to say it, but a lot of times in training, it's like, hey, you're the training officer now. And we get people and they're like, oh, great, now what do I do? So the goal is that, anyone, a training officer, or even just someone looking at professional development, can come to the website, can look at that and say, this is where I'm at in my career. Looking back, is there maybe something I missed? So is there a gap I'm not aware of? Unconscious, incompetence.
Right.
I hate to say it, we don't know what we don't know. So is there something potentially that, in my foundation I'm kind of missing that later down the road could cause a problem? So go back, look, make sure we've got everything. Once again, how do we know we're meeting the mark? That evaluation component. So what's the different ways that we can actually look? And we talk about, certifications, whether it's through IFSAC or Pro Board, we have those listed. We talk about accreditation and credentialing, whether it's through the CPS, Center for Public Safety Excellence. So those are the things where it's great to have an outside party say, yes, you're meeting the standard. Yes, you're
right.
At the right level of, capability. Because once again, I hate to say it, but in the fire service, a lot of times I think there's just a assumed level of competency that exists, when in reality, NIOSH, once again, and other research has shown us that competency is not near where we think it is, and we're, having those failures and having those breakdowns, which we can't afford to do. So, and once again, I think the research that's coming out of the victim search from Brian Brush, it's showing us holes and gaps where,
right.
Again, we're not doing as well as we think we should. So, and I think it's also great because I'm 100% for the basics and for skill. This is a blue-collar job. If we can't deploy hose, if we can't deploy ladders, if we can't force doors, we can't do our job. And it goes back to, we have to start there. But at some point, too, for complex problems, we may need complex skill sets. And so once again, I'm 100%
right.
for nailing down the basics, but at some point, especially at the higher levels, obviously we have to move beyond basics. When I'm a company officer, when I'm an incident commander, it's no longer about, from my position, dragging hose and throwing ladders. I'm now that critical decision maker. I'm now that critical or key problem solver. But where have we taught you to do that? A great conversation that's been going on, I think, is for many years in the fire service, we've taught you what to do and how to think. But what have we not done? If we taught you how to think,
right.
And when you get into those higher positions in your career, you have to think.
Well, it goes back to the autopilot stuff you're talking
exactly,
about.
Exactly, it goes
Same
back
thing.
to the autopilot stuff that we were talking about as well. And so, I think that's key, and I think that's where professional development helps, because I think it, once again, shows us this is everything that we need to be successful. Because once again, with basics, we can go to a basic fire and succeed. When we get into complex incidents and things, especially too outside of fires, are we ready for that? I mean, I'm going to be honest. My guys are much more likely to see something other than a fire. Now we have to be prepared for fire, because if we can't do it, no one else can. So right. I have to show up at a fire and
still says fire department on your shirt.
Still says fire department.
Right.
And everything. It's us. We have to be able to do that. But we're still responding to motor vehicle accidents and technical rescues and hazardous materials calls and who knows what else. And we just can't show up and say, well, I'm a firefighter. Well, yeah, but I call 911, you come and solve my problem. So whatever my problem is, right. You have to deal with it. And the other area that professional development's getting into is emotional intelligence. Because how are we dealing with the public? How are we dealing with each other? There was some really powerful presentations and speeches at FDIC this week on our mental health issues. That ties directly back to emotional intelligence. That ties directly back to attitude.
Right.
Are we addressing those things? As they said, we're losing more firefighters to suicide than we are line of duty deaths. Let's be honest. And we don't want to be honest because, that's not the glory part. That's not the we're heroes. That's not those things. But we in our organizations, especially as leaders, have to be willing to step up and look at those things and say, hey, are we doing the right things for our people and also, once again, for the public? Because when someone calls you and says, my cat's stuck in a tree, it's their worst day. I mean, we laugh, we joke, this is stupid, why are we here, why are we doing this? And it goes back to Chief Brunacini and Mrs. Smith. Right. We're there to serve and protect the public. We're there for the public, and whatever that takes, and once again, we can't get spun off. We have to stick to our core missions and our core focus. But I have guys that can show up for months and never go to a structure fire, that are going to go to countless motor vehicle accidents, countless EMS calls and runs, countless interactions with the public, and we just can't completely be like, well, it's not my job to worry about, So.
Yeah, for sure. And the crazy thing is, like, as you go through the emotional intelligence piece, I mean, there's a ton of instructors out there that are teaching more and more on that.
Correct.
We kind of hit it, actually me and you met through the credentialed instructor.
Correct.
Through ISFSI. And even that, going into some of the stuff that we wouldn't normally routinely go into. Correct. Doing an accident investigation in that class. Correct. Putting together an SOP or a budget for a fire academy.
Correct.
In that credentialed instructor class, even though it's online now, which Correct. Is huge, because we all know that there's a lot of departments out there that basically go, you're the training officer now, like you said. Correct. It used to be a position that you would actually like test for or try to get into, and right. Now it seems like it's unless you have a passion for training or something's happened. And amazingly, when we started doing our intros of all the people in that class, they all usually had something that happened to them in their fire service career. Right. That said, I want to be a training officer to fix that problem right. or change this. Correct. But if you don't have that, it's okay. Whose turn is it in the barrel this time? And
it is. It's all over the place. There's places where training officers are like a revolving door. They're there for a year or two. They're in and out. You never really get consistency. Like you said, I hate to say it. There's places. It's a retirement home. It's all over the place. And what is the number one resource in the fire service? It's us. It's our people.
Right.
So what are we investing in that number one resource? What are we putting into that? Because if it's not training, what is it? Is it like you said? Is it recliner time and playing on the Xbox? So right. if we're not investing in our number one resource, and if we don't have a plan and a system and something in place, and once again we're pretty much relying on individuals doing it on their own. Which I hate to say it, in some cases, a lot of people look at professional development as being driven by the organization. That may or may not be the case. It may be up to you as an individual. You're going to have to step up to the plate and do the right thing, because once again, if you want to succeed, you're going to have to be honest. You're going to have to look, and you're going to have to work. And you talked about, with ISFSI, we have the training officer credential. I've been doing this for over 20 years. And hats off to the instructor, Fansville, for that. Because even for someone like me. He made me go to places maybe I didn't want to go or do things I didn't want to do. Because we all like to get comfortable. We all get our habits, our routines, our ruts. But that doesn't help us get any better. We have to get comfortable being uncomfortable if we really want to improve and want to really get better.
Right.
And that's the key, is we need to have someone or something in place that's going to kind of do that. Because once again, who's going to show up in an emergency accident scene and be perfectly comfortable? You're not. You're going to be under stress. You're going to be under pressure. It may be the first time you've seen that caller run. So at that point, it's too late to say, time out, I'm not ready for this. At this point, you've got to perform. You've got to go to 100. You've got to do something. And, if you haven't got to that point, it's, best thing you can do is raise your hand and say, I hope somebody else around here can bail me out of this. Right. Because once again, we've had people that have jumped in over their head and should not have, and once again, we're paying the price for that.
And we do that a lot. It seems like, that's why we're a team. It's, hey, if you go to a guy that drove a cement truck over the cliff, right. It's not going to be one person's, knowledge, skills, abilities, and attitude that's going to fix that problem that day.
Hopefully, right.
Yeah. Right. Everybody's going to try to bring a piece of pie to that and put it all together.
And that goes back to that attitude piece, because are we, are we willing? Will our egos let us go? Hey, I'm the highest ranking person, but you know what? I don't have the answer to this. You know, it may be a lower ranking person that says, you know, I got an idea. Well, are you willing? Are you open to that? Are you willing to say, yeah, let's? If you've got the best idea at this point, let's try it. Let's run with it.
I'm not a hazmat. I'm not a hazmat guy, at no means at all. You know, once it gets past the gallon of yellow liquid on the side of the road that I figured out is transient urine, I'm out. You know, the rule of thumb only works for so much. My engineer's a tech spec, and you know, if we pull up to some major methyl ethyl. I look at my engineer. What do you want to do? Right. You know, exactly. I'll be a worker bee on that one, and you have to know when that is appropriate.
Yeah, and that's the key. I mean, as we always say, firefighting is a team sport. There is no I in team or no I in a team sport. So, and that's the keys that, you know, we work off of each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we do the best that we can do with what we have. But once again, try to find those weaknesses and let's fill them. You know, because I hate to say it. I've seen many times where our normal crews are relying on that kind of structure, and now all of a sudden 2 guys are off of that crew, and now we get 2 other people, and now that balance is all out of whack. Because now I don't have that hazmat guy or that tech rescue guy or whatever. So, you know, that's kind of where, and like you said, hopefully at that point there's other people there, and we can phone a friend or whatever we need to do to get help to deal with the situation. But, you know, so.
Well, there is an eye in ice cream that you're not eating, so I'll talk for a while. You finish.
I'm doing wonderful here. Stuff. You got to kind of savor it, you know. It's like you can't just, you know.
I'm being forced to savor it because I got the s'mores, so it's got the graham cracker chunks in there that eventually it'll suck up into my straw and get stuck. But
I'm hitting the chocolate chunk road. So.
Yeah, and when you started talking about just, you know, the R&D piece, you know, we're not reinventing the wheel. Just like we talked about with, you know, John's forcible entry stuff, amazingly, we're not reinventing the wheel, and we're reinventing the wheel every single day. And it's just cool to watch. Going to all these conferences, I don't think a lot of people get to see, as we go to a lot of these conferences, like how much we're just completely changing the fire service and bringing back old school training and traditions at the same time. It's just
Well, here, you ready for this subject? Books. The man of the book club. Right?
Yes.
So, books. You want to learn something new? Read an old book. You know, we had the conversation going about books, and you know, I'm very fortunate to have, you know, Lloyd Lang's
too many books.
Reed's book, you know, and once again, you know, if you go back and read those books, and you know, it was like the whole issue of flow path came up. Oh, this is new. Oh, this is new science. Oh, this is whatever. No, we were talking about this stuff on, you know.
The chief from France that did it. Yeah. Well, even before that, he was talking about putting water through windows back then. He was talking about transitional attack and flow path, and it's
it's amazing how those cycles run, and once again, the things that, you know, we've done and that have been lost, and you know, because it, you know, and it to me, that just, those are those things that, you know, the more exposure we can get, because and if you want to use the word whatever, silo camp or whatever, that's one of the problems I think, is at times we get in our small groups and in our small circles, we're not open to those outside things. And if we would just do that, you know, and it's phenomenal today, because once again, when I came in the fire service, everything that I learned was in hard format. It was a written manual, it was a VCR tape, it was whatever. You know, if you look at the knowledge that you have access today at your fingertips, I can pull out my phone and literally, there's no topic or subject I can't find out about. But are we taking advantage of that? Are we open to that? Are we using that? Or are we just stuck in that same, you know, this is the way we've always done it, so we're just going to keep doing it that way, you know? And I hate to say it, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But who's defining if it's broke? You know, have we had someone from the outside take an honest look and go, yeah, you may think that's good, but you got some room for improvement here? Because once again, we can fight single room and contents fires all day long, you know, but now all of a sudden it's no longer a single room and contents fire. Now it's a commercial fire. Now it's a high-rise fire. You know, are we ready for that? Have we gone to that? Because going back to that experience piece of professional development, I am not personally, you know, I don't want to show up at my first high-rise fire and decide I'm going to figure this out on the job. You know, I can go to the experts, McGrail, you know, all those people and learn from their experiences, you know, once again, secondhand or vicariously, because then when I show up, I've got something to start from, something to work with. You know, but if we don't do that, if it's just, you know, I'm going to show up on the job and learn as I go, that's a hard, there's a lot of hard-earned lessons there. You know, sometimes you kind of have to make the mistake for yourself to learn the lesson, but ideally, you know, what's the consequences? Can we recover from that? Are you okay from that? Or, you know, by the time we figure out we're wrong, we're medically retiring somebody or we're having a memorial service, you know. Those are things we can't afford to do, obviously.
Well, and as the things change, like the newest class I'm working on is called Tearing Down the Walls, and it's getting into open concept construction. You figure over 50% of your residential fires start from cooking fires.
Correct.
Well, that's where they're tearing down the walls. So now that kitchen fire that used to be contained by that, now it's getting in the living room, decomposing the couch, decomposing the dining room table. Now you come to the front door, open that up. That creates bi-directional flow path. It drags it right to the front door because there's no containment anymore. Right. And it drags it down to the bedrooms. And a lot of the houses nowadays, the way they're set up and built, you literally have the parents' bedroom here with all that open concept in the middle, and the kids' bedrooms. You know, that separation, get the kids down there on that other end of the house. So now that open concept, there's going to be more potential for trapped kids, banana search. You know, and
once again, that's we talked about being that critical thinker, that problem solver. You know.
Hey, how y'all guys doing, man?
We're good. How you doing?
I'll be there to see y'all guys with tonight or tomorrow night.
At the firefighter stuff?
Firefighters,
good.
Yeah, down the street.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, man. And you know what, man? Y'all guys do some hellfire shit, man. I mean, statistics, look at the news.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's on there.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the newest class that I'm working on, just because I think that's the game changer. We talk about the lightweight construction. Yeah, the collapse potential is there, but that's the biggest game changer for the lightweight construction. Now you're talking about getting in there, using the stream reach to get all the way back to the kitchen, the hit and move, you know, and because it's all open concept, there's not the walls, not only to contain it, but also to help you with the search patterns. You're going through furniture, and it's all open.
Let's go back to the thermal imaging camera. You know.
No.
You know, come on, right? You got an open floor.
I should have brought Joey DeVito to do thermal imaging camera stuff with me.
If I hit the front door and do a scan, you know, in these new houses, I can clear huge chunks of it. That used to be, you know, and then once again, like you said, what did we say? Stay on a hose, stay on a wall, stay on a rope, stay oriented. I can't be searching off of a wall when there's 20 and 30 feet of open space. I've got to leave that wall. Well, now I'm not on a hose line. Well, did I bring a rope? So are we doing, you know, with the thermal imaging camera, we can do directed oriented searches. You know, there's so much more that we can do if we have the training, if we have the capability. Because once again, and this was a topic we've talked about, change. The world around us is changing tremendously. Everything's changing. The buildings are changing. The fire behavior is changing. It's all changing. Are we changing too? Or are we still trying to fight, you know, fires like it's 1950 or 1970?
Yeah.
So water will put fires out, but how much water? Where do we put it? How do we put it? You know, those things can change. So
yeah, like you said, we're going back to the basics. Search culture, right? That's going out there a lot nowadays, Sean and those guys, and just getting back into how do you save lives and property? You know, how do you actually do that thing? You know, Bernstein talks about those 4 Ps: the people, pets, pictures, pills.
Right.
They're in there trying to save those things. You know, the lives, the property, and it's always funny whenever I talk about the 4 Ps with the pets. I say, remember, dogs are lives, cats are property. So get in there, save the dogs first, and then get to the cats.
I'm with you on that. Everybody is, but I'm with you on that.
Yeah. So
yeah, I would tell anybody, if you come to my house that's on fire, just get my dog out.
Yeah.
Just get my dog out. So, yeah.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good.
All right.
Finished up. So great stuff. Very good.
Hey, this has been a nice chapter. Can we get some more ice cream?
More ice cream?
I'm dying over
You
here.
finished?
More ice cream? More ice cream?
All right.
I don't know if I can do more ice cream right
Maybe
now.
we'll go inside, get some more, and then we'll bail out.
All right.